Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here once again to review American Horror Story Season 2. And I know what you're wondering. Was it better than Season 1? Yeah. But the thing is that it's really hard to say what's better and what's worse than each season, because for some reason these guys they end on terrible, unsatisfying endings. And so when you watch a season and you invest all your time into it, and then it has like this horrible ending that's like just leaves you really unsatisfied and really like down in the dumps, it's really not a good feeling. And so it's like, how do you rank these different stories that just end on these Debbie Downer notes, these notes of like just complete unhappiness and bullshit, really? I mean, it's just bullshit the way that these seasons end. And I'm glad that I went in expecting the ending to be bad, because boy oh boy, if this was the first season I saw, I would have destroyed it like I did season 1 and then season 10, Red Tide, that is. I haven't seen the second half yet. In fact, episode 7 is premiering tonight, and I'll probably watch it live just because I want to get it over with. And, which I know I sound like such a Debbie Downer myself, but it's such an awful thing to watch these shows, to see like these really good stories and these really good characters, and to see like these really great horror too. Like, these guys, they understand horror, and it's really cool that like there's at least one person or two people out there who actually understand horror, because the horror genre is dead. You have all these horror movies. They're not really horror movies. They're just filled with jump scares, and they're boring, they're lifeless, they're dull. I mean, there's so many things you could. They're PG-13 most of the time. They're lame. They have no boobs. They have no ass. They have no blood. They have no gore. They're just complete pieces of shit. And so, but with these guys and their American Horror Story, they get into that stuff. And so, they actually give you horror. And I really appreciate that. That's the one upside to these, that's the one pro to these seasons, is that they are actually horror stories. They're not fake horror. They're not Paranormal Activity. They're not Halloween made by Bloomhouse. This is actual horror. And so that's the one really good thing that keeps me coming back, is that like it's nice to see some horror, because I love horror. Horror is my favorite genre. And even though when you love horror, it's really like a downside, because when you like horror, nobody likes you. And when you like horror, you have to go through a lot of shit because you like horror. But then you have all these other genres like sports movies, these sports porn movies where it's like, the same stories over and over and over again. And then you have the Oscar bait movies like, Forrest Gump. Ugh. They're just all the same things. And there's so many things you could make fun of about them. But for some reason, horror is the genre that you get made fun of for. Horror is the genre that you get discriminated for liking. And I'm sick of that shit. And I'm in it. That's why I'm so hard on everything, on my channel. Because I give everything an equal chance. And I think that a lot of people, they don't give everything an equal chance. I mean, when they watched this season 2, this is supposedly the best season. And it's like, why? Like, this season, it ends on such a terrible, fizzle out, like, just, ending where it's like, was it worth it? Were all those hours that you spent watching this worth it? It feels like a little bit of a bias, and so I'm going to take my bias towards horror out of it and just look at this with an equal perspective to what I would look at with, like, let's use some piece of shit non-horror thing I just watched. No Sudden Move. Ugh! Fuck that movie. What a terrible waste of my time. What a disgusting, putrid, cliche, dumb, boring, old people affair. What a piece of trash. And guess what? That same energy is going towards season 2, Asylum. So let's start off with the good now, that because I just, I just wanted to talk about that stuff because I don't really do topic videos where I could if I wanted to, but I'm just afraid that they won't get any views because I would love to talk all about horror and how, you compare horror to other genres and it is laughable how all these other genres, it's like, it's perfectly okay as a grown adult to like fucking WandaVision. But then it's not okay if you like The Craft or if you like The Blair Witch Project. What's up with that? I'd like to know, seriously, what the fuck is up with that? That is some double standard ass bullshit, and I am not going to tolerate it. But anyways, there are lots of good things about season 2. And I would say it is the best season out of all 3 that I've seen so far. Because it just has so much good in it, regardless of the last couple of episodes, which completely, are basically like someone shitting all over the season. I mean, we'll get to the last couple episodes because, wow, they just completely ruin it. I mean, it's almost like, and you know what I think? I think that these writers, they really enjoy writing this stuff, and they get to the ending, and then they get really sad, and they get really like, oh, we gotta end it now. Okay, let's just get it over with, and do it, and end it, and let's just, I hate that we have to end it. You know what I mean? It really feels like a chore for them to end it. It feels like that they really don't want to end it. And I don't blame them because, I mean, I could watch a whole series based on Asylum. I mean, honestly, it was that good. But then you get to the ending and it's just like, oh, fuck you, Marco. As usual with these shows and movies, fuck you. Especially from the scripts. The scripts are always the main issue. And that was once again the main issue. There really is nothing. There's really no flaws to this season except for the scripts. And so I would say, wait. Okay. I spoke too soon. I forgot all about Lana Banana. I can't believe I forgot about Crybaby for a second. I can't believe it. Crybaby, she's a good actress when she's put in the right roles. But with this American Horror Story, it seems like they're just putting her in these roles because they like her. And not because she would be good in the roles. She's not very sympathetic type of a person. I don't really, she has this coldness and this sort of like victimhood in her face that just, makes me not like her. It's sort of like this like artificialness, this sort of like thespian type of look where she's like, look at me, I want attention. And, she has to cry in everything she's in because that's like a thing that show-off thespians do, is that they cry. And they're like, look, I can cry without having a sad memory. I can cry. Look at me, everybody. I can do a talent. And it's like kind of like a high school talent show type of act from her. And so everything she's in sort of comes off the same because she's always got that face. And that's why in season 10, when she had all that makeup on and she was, tuberculosis Karen, she did a really damn good job because it was finally something that fit her and something where you didn't have to see that crybaby face all the time. And, she did a damn good job in season 10. That was really good. She was really good. In season 2, however, wow. Laughably bad. And, she starts off and you have to wonder, too, if they want you to like her or not. Because at the end of the season, they have this thing where they basically show a scene from episode 1 again, but then they show her face when God, there's so many names. Sister Jude says, evil stares right back at you. They show the crybaby's face. And it's like, oh, did these writers, are they saying that she is evil? Because she is. She's basically the main villain of the season. And it's really kind of unexpected. And it's this weird turn that sort of doesn't make sense. Because by making her the villain, you go back and rewatch the rest of the season. And it's like, sorry about that. Really sorry. But if you go back, you don't like her anymore. And so it's like all the bad stuff that happens to her, it's like kind of like good. Like, F that biatch. Like, you want her to die. You want her to get killed because she's such a bitch at the end. She's such a villain at the end of the season. She was horrible at the end. And, when I saw her character first on screen, I knew she was going to be a problem. I knew it. Like, the moment she's on screen, and it's like she's the reporter character. And it's going to be all about how she has to suffer in there. And then at the end, she exposes the asylum. And she brings the place down. It's like, oh, I had such a sinking negative feeling. And I was like, oh, please. I thought the main character was Kit. But no, of course not. Can't do that because Kit is too likable. He's too much of a good character for us to focus on him. We gotta focus on the reporter stereotype. The annoying kind of reporter who, she sniffs around. She thinks she can do whatever she wants without any consequences. And she faces consequences. And so that was cool. The show really started off on a cliche note. It started off to where I was able to predict everything that happened and for a while. But then it got to like episode 4 episode 3, 4, and that's when things got good. But I still had an issue because it felt sort of formulaic at first. It felt like there was this formula of people do bad things, they get punished, they get experimented on, then they plot an escape, they escape or they try to escape, and then they get returned, and they go back in the asylum. That happens over and over and over and over again. It is ridiculous how many times that happens. And I guess it's fine because it's like showing that it's easy to get put back in. Like that's the scary part or something. But it really felt formulaic, regardless of like how entertaining it was and how good the actors were and everything. It really kind of felt formulaic. But the reason why the season started working in episodes 3 and 4 was because of the characters. And now I'm going to do like a little, I guess you would say cringeworthy appreciation of each specific character and just explain like why I love each one. Okay, you have number one. Number one character is Dr. Arthur Arden, and he is a villain in this season. I mean, basically, this season is full of villains. I mean, there's really an endless supply of villains. I mean, there's villains who they basically never even touch on, like what happens to them, which was weird. Like there's this corrupt doctor who, or wait, not a doctor. He's like an orderly, and he's having sex with the slutty patient. I mean, the slutty girl, and I forgot her name because she gets disposed of, and she wasn't. She was another cliche character, and so I was kind of glad when she got disposed of because her character was just so cliche and such like a typical character. I mean, you see her in every single Asylum type of story where you have like a horny character, but she did a good job at acting, but I guess I didn't like her character, but she still did a good job and she served a purpose in the story. She was basically like a plot device if you think about it. But Dr. Arden was a fucking phenomenal character. He had so many layers to him. He was evil, he was a Nazi, he experiments on people, but the experiments are for something quote unquote good. So like, is he onto something? Not really, no. There's just so many things to him and so many interesting points to his character. And he's such a great actor. I mean, he's scary. He's sympathetic at like a couple of tiny moments. He plays every single aspect of the human person that he could. And so he really did a phenomenal job. I am surprised that he didn't win an Emmy for it because it was such an epic performance, and he was so cool in like a villain type of way, like oh, that's a really cool villain. Not that I like him. I just wanted to say that because obviously he is evil. But then again, most of the people in this season are evil, so I mean, it shouldn't really matter. Because then let's get to Sister Jude. Now, you guys know how much I like Jessica Lange. If you watched my first season review, I mean, she is just on fire. And you get to see her in so many different ways. You get to see nun Jude. You get to see past Jude. You get to see Judy Martin. You get to see Betty Davis, where she's got this disheveled look. And then you get to see sweet Nana Jude. And then you get to see hallucination dancing Jude. And you get to see so many different versions. And she is so fucking sexy that she just looks perfect in every single version of all the different iterations of her character. She even when she's in that final form where she looks like she's been in that solitary for a million years and she's gone insane, man, she still looked like a movie star. That is how that just shows you how good the movie stars were back then when they were chosen in the 80s. They had to be perfect. They had to be goddesses because I mean, look at her. I mean, she could still be a leading lady. I mean, I would watch her in anything she does because she's so damn good. And in this season, her character goes through so many different things, and we get to see this like amazing sort of deconstruction almost of her character, of like what happened in her past. And then it's really funny because this whole plot line, this whole plot line of like her quote unquote killing a kid, it literally becomes useless at some point, and I was so glad about that because that was such a stupid plot line, and it was so funny when she went to their house and she found out that she didn't even kill her at all and that she's just fine. I mean, that was such a funny and like cool moment because it was like it was a good twist, and it made the stupid storyline worth it. It was sort of like another cliche storyline. Oh yeah, we get to see drunk Jude, we get to see whip Jude. We get to see so many different versions of her, and she really is yet again, I would say she's even better than in season 1. She is the highlight of this season because of all the different iterations we get to see of her. And she does a perfect job in every single one. Take away the good looks. She is a perfect actress, and they were really lucky to have her in this season because she's almost like too good for this show. Like she's that good, and I know that like at a certain point she left, and I don't blame her because these seasons, these stories, they're just so unsatisfying, and it would get super old to be in these seasons and to get a new script each week, and then to see the final scripts and just be like, oh god, what the hell is this? What is this? Are you kidding me? You gave this script to Jessica Lange and you said that's the script. What a terrible decision that was. And so she was so good. And I know that that sounded really embarrassing. I was like, she was so good. But she was. And then let's get to her secondary, her right hand, Sister Mary K. Eunice. Wait, what was that? What was she? Sister Mary and McKay? Was that what it was? See, I'm kind of bad with names sometimes. They have to be repeated over and over again for me to like really for them to grind into my head. So I apologize for that. That's why I like coming up with nicknames. I know I've been criticized for that a lot in the past, but it's honestly just because it's like my own way of remembering so that I don't have to look bad when I like that and just say Sister Mary Eunice McKay, and I don't know if that's correct or not because I don't have a fucking teleprompter in front of me like a fucking robot. But I really loved her too. Lily Rabb from Tell Me Your Secrets. Tell Me Your Secrets was a piece of shit show. And she really was good in it in spite of that. And she's so good in everything she's in. And in season 1, her and Mr. Montgomery were the highlight of that season for me, along with Ben. And so it was so cool to see that she would get like a even bigger role in season 2. And wow, she did such a good job. And it was so cool to see yet again another amazing character transformation where she goes from being the sweet and innocent, ooh, I don't want to eat a candy apple because candy leads to sin, ooh. But then she goes to she goes to this horribly possessed demon nun, and it's a really nice transformation to see on screen. I love that about this season, that we get to see all these really radical character transformations. And let's talk about another one because Sister Mary's wasn't the only one. Let's talk about my man Zachary Quino as Dr. Oliver Threatson. I mean, it's funny because if you kind of sound out his last name, it's Threatson, or it's Threadson, but you could say Threat instead of Threatson. And I thought that was kind of interesting because obviously his son is going to be a threat to Lana Lana Banana. So, but Oliver Threatson, wow, what an incredible twist that was. That was a highlight of the season. When we find out that this whole time, this charade, where you had this nice doctor who, he had some questionable things about him, like when he did that conversion therapy, obviously it was like, what's wrong with this guy? Is he insane himself? Oh yeah, he is. And he's fucking bloody face. And he was such an incredible villain. He was so good. He was so evil, and then he was so good at the beginning. Perfect. And see, this is what I mean. In season 1, he really got shortchanged with that generic cliche, boyfriend character. And it was so cool to see him finally get the respect he deserves by getting to play this amazing double-sided character. And then, of course, Lana Banana kind of fucked some of it up with him because of her character. And we'll talk about her character later because she is not in my appreciation list. And, of course, his son, played by Ben from season 1, was also a pretty good character. He came in at the end, right when Lana Banana was officially a villain. And honestly, in the final episode, I was rooting for him. He was the one I was rooting for. And that is just such a strange and bizarre thing that in the final episode of a season, you're rooting for this evil, villainous guy. The whole season, he was killing people. He was doing the bloody face shit to them. And then at the end, it's like he's a protagonist to me. I mean, I really liked him. I thought that he was going to do a good thing by killing that bitch Lana Banana. And so I was really sad when, we'll talk about that later. Because it was sad, he was such a messed up person and he was so confused. And it was all because of her. It was all a product of her and Bloody Face. Both of them had equal shares of the blame, obviously, because Bloody Face was insane, and then Lana Banana was insane too, and evil. And so both of them kind of fucked this kid up so badly. And it shows that, she really did belong in the asylum, and wow. There's so many dimensions to this season. There's so many. I mean, I haven't even talked about Kit or Grace or Alma yet. Let's talk about Kit and Alma. Now, Kit gets framed for Bloody Face by aliens. And the aliens basically turn out to be completely useless in this season. They basically are there to do convenient plot things that the main character can't do. They bring Grace back and they give her a baby even though she was sterilized. They bring her back from the dead. They bring Alma back from the dead. They do all these crazy things that never could have happened. And so, but then they never really played a part in the finale except for they abducted Kit again in the finale out of nowhere. And it was like, oh, wow, the aliens are playing a part. Oh, not really. Bye-bye, aliens. Or AKA flashes of light. So, Kit was a really good character, too. He wasn't as good of a character as Taint from season 1, because he didn't have as much as Taint in season 1. He was mostly relegated to being more of a side character so that Lana Banana could be the main character. And that was sort of like a flaw for me, was that, I thought that Kit was going to be the main character. And because Kit is really he's such a pure person. He helps people. He's a really good guy. And, even in the end, he's really sort of like a hero. For what he does in the finale and saving Sister Jude. the woman who wanted to sterilize him and did all these other horrible things to him. He was a really good guy. And the Monsignor, he wasn't a great character. He was sort of like a background threat the whole season, and then at the end he just kind of peters out into nothing. But he was still pretty good, I'll say, I guess. And then Grace was good too. I liked her. I didn't like her at first because I thought she was pretty cliche as well. But I really liked to see that was the good thing about this season was everything started off really cliche and really normal and like really like, okay, this is what I would expect from an Asylum story. But then all the characters really grew over those episodes, and they really showed you different dimensions of them that gave you more of a chance to like them. Unlike in Red Tide, where the characters were how they were the whole season, they didn't really make any transformations at all. They didn't really give you a lot of turns and twists. They just kind of stayed who they were at the beginning, but kind of like exposed a little bit in a way because of the pill that they were taking. So, the season, one of the things about the season that I didn't like was how it had so many different segments to it of like the series as a whole. If you watched this all at once, it would feel like a very weird experience because there's so many parts where there's these side stories and stories that never really play a part into the finale. Like Dr. Arden had these creatures in the backyard of the asylum in the garden area, and they were some like Call of Duty Black Ops zombies style like creepy creatures crawling around and eating human parts, and he fed them, and I guess they were just failed experiments. So they were just people who become feral over time. And sorry about that. My throat is dry because I don't have any water out here with me, so that's why my voice is like that. But these creatures, they never really play a part, but they get emphasized a lot, and so there's all these side stories that get this sort of weird emphasis to them. And it's almost like either like they're just having fun and telling these little side stories, or it's like a purposeful thing where they're telling these distraction stories that aren't going to play a part, but they kind of trick you into thinking they will. And so I thought that was kind of weird because it definitely felt jarring in the finale, I will say, because they started to do the thing that they did in season 10, where instead of leaving everything unresolved like in season 1, they sorry, something just popped up, irritating clickbait shit. But instead of doing that, they had closure for everything, but it was bullshit closure. So they had all these stupid endings to these stories that just, they came out of nowhere, and it's like, okay, bye-bye, that character's gone, don't have to worry about that anymore, bye-bye, bye-bye. And it's like really kind of bizarre. And so I thought, sorry, I just forgot what point I was making. But it was really jarring because then in the finale, it just felt like there was nothing left. And it felt like, there was nothing left to do. And all these stories were kind of useless. They were kind of pointless. And I won't, I'll admit that I kind of felt empty. When I went into the finale, I had this very sad and empty sort of feeling that I don't want to have because I'm watching television. I mean, why do I have to feel like that? Because I watch television. And so I was really kind of irritated by that. It was irritating, the fact that, you had these stories, they were so good, they were so great, and they were such a nice, refreshing horror stories. And then they all get fucked up. They all get completely shut down in favor of stupid stories. And, I don't like that. That's such a terrible method of storytelling. And I guess it's going to be repeated in every single season because these guys never got the hint from their fans that they need help with these finales. They need help with the third acts of their stories. And another thing, too, is that, I know that in future seasons they sort of bring back storylines and resolve them then. I think like there's an apocalypse season where they bring everything comes together or something, and it's like, that's kind of weird too, because I thought this was an anthology season. Series, I mean. And so, really, really strange. There were a lot of great stories, but all of them become pointless at the end. And let's talk about those last couple. Oh, wait, one more thing. There was a Killer Santa Claus story that I thought was probably one of my favorites. And he was played by Ian McShane. And he was basically this evil, rapist, murderer Santa Claus. And he's in the asylum. And there was this really good Christmas episode. And I love that. There's a Christmas episode. Last season there was a Halloween episode. That was cool. I'll give them that. But then what happens is terrible because he gets to escape. And then they never reveal what happens. All they say is that he escaped and he killed 7 nuns. I mean, that's it. Like, that's all we get. To me, it feels like you could make an entire season of like a Christmas themed season with him killing nuns and, something like that, to make up for that. Because his character was so cool. He was sort of like he's such a good actor that, as soon as he came on, he was legendary without having ever been in any other episodes. Sister Mary lets him be Santa Claus and he kills the security guard and he does all this other shit too, and it's like, wow, this guy's really something. He's a good villain. And so it would be cool to see him again in like a Christmas themed season. That would be what I would want to see, honestly. And now, let's get to the finale and like all the last few episodes because, wow, they really, really did a number this season. They should really, they should quit. Because, I mean, when you get to these last couple episodes, it is ridiculous. They just kill characters off right and left, out of nowhere. And by the end, there's nothing left to do. Except for this stupid present storyline. And it's like, why? Why did you do that? It's such terrible pacing. Because then in the finale is basically consistent of like 70% flashbacks. It's just like, oh, that happened. And it's like Lana Banana explaining away all of these things that happened through flashbacks. And it was a torturous experience watching that. It was like hell. It was like going through hell again. And, Lana Banana, we didn't even talk about that biatch yet. Let's talk about her. She comes to this asylum. First off, they have this way that you can sneak in and out of the asylum. They never bother to fix that. I mean, they never bother. I mean, seriously, even in the finale, they are still able to sneak in and out of the asylum through that area, and they never bother to fix it. Oh my god, I just forgot about something else, too. Oh. See, now we're getting into the bad, and I just woke up out of my nap of reviewing just things that I liked, and now I'm getting a little excited because now I get to talk about some bad shit. So we have this angel character. She's a dark angel, and she's played by the maid in season 1, Moira. The old Moira, not the young Moira. Or I guess that didn't make sense either, because it was weird how a ghost aged or whatever. It was just, oh. I just remembered season 1 and I just almost had an aneurysm just thinking about how bad that was. How bad the ending was. But she comes back in this season as this like dark angel character. And basically what happens is, if you die or if you're on the brink of death, she comes over and gives you a smoochy smooch and you die. And it's like, you basically give permission to die. You have to give consent to dying. And so I thought that was that you just broke the entire series, dudes, because it basically sets a precedent that every single character who ever gets injured ever can turn to this angel and say, kiss me, kiss me, kiss me, kiss me, I want to die now. And it's like, okay, so you're telling me that all these characters who got shot, they got stabbed, they didn't die because, of the shooting and the stabbing. They died because they gave permission to the Dark Angel. That is so stupid. I mean, come on. Why would you do that? They have to give permission to die. And she's like tempting them to. She's having conversations with them. She's like impersonating a prisoner at one point. I mean, what the fuck? I mean, what were they thinking with that character? It would have been one thing if they said that she only haunted this asylum. Like, maybe like she was brought into this asylum through the gateway that the possessed boy came through. Maybe when that exorcism happened, there was like a gateway that opened up, and then the Dark Angel came through there to haunt the asylum. They could have done that. But no, they had it to where this character, she is there at every point just asking people, okay, ma'am, would you like to die now? Okay. And so she, oh, what a terrible idea that was. When that episode came, I was almost going to make a rant video in itself of just me talking about how stupid that is. I mean, how stupid is that? That basically tells you that all the shooting victims in season 1, they all gave permission to die, so why are they complaining? It said that the mom, remember when the mom chose to die? And I said, what kind of a mom abandons her baby? Remember when that happened? She gave permission. She literally turned to that Dark Angel and said, yes, please, I want to die now so I can be a ghost mom. Oh, God. That literally, that's going to affect every single death from now on. And Safi is going to be really confused because she's only on episode 4. And so when we see, like, whatever next death that happens, I'm going to be like, oh shit, that person really wanted to die. So I can't really feel sorry. I can't feel any remorse from now on because all these characters gave permission to die. I mean, what the fuck? They had this part where it was like this really triumphant moment. It was actually really cool where Sister Mary, Mary knows that she has to die because she's possessed. And she's like, I'm sick of fighting it. Just kill me. Just please end it. You have to do this. And so then they push her off and she falls down from this like great height. And which, reminded me of Psycho 3, which I appreciate that because Psycho 3 is my favorite horror movie of all time. But she falls from this great height. And then what happens? Does she die? Oh no. She turns her head over and she says, oh, you can kiss me now. I mean, that literally just undercut the whole emotion of that sequence, because she, that was so stupid. I couldn't believe that. And then, oh, it's just, it made me insane. It made me go insane. That's why I sound so weird. Because I just couldn't believe it, that they invented a character whose sole purpose is to kiss you when you're near death, because you're giving her permission for you to die, and she she takes your soul. I mean, that is just the stupidest thing. And now let's get to the lowest moment of the whole season. This moment made me want to cringe. It made me want to throw up. Okay. So one of the bizarre plots in the final episodes is that Kit brings home Sister Jude, aka Judy Martin, aka Sexy Mama, aka Banana Ice Cream, aka, Perfection Incarnate. He brings her home, and I was like, okay, you finally chose a decent love interest. But then, no, they have this, like, dancing session. And and I forgot all about the dancing, too. There's this weird obsession with her character with dancing. And it never really plays any purpose at all, except for just, I guess, reminding her of her own humanity, for her character development. But she's lying in bed, and she basically, it feels like she's gonna die, because Kit said she was really happy for those couple of months, but then she was in bed, and then we see her, and she gives this cringy advice to both kids. She tells the girl, you can be whatever you want to be, don't let a man tell you what to do. And of course, I just cringed. I was like, what the hell is that? I guess it kind of makes sense, because the Monsignor kind of, like, ruled her life, and, she really let him tell her what to do, and, like, she lived based off of him and based off of his bullshit. And so I guess that kind of made sense. But then she turned over to the boy Thomas, and she told him some bizarre I couldn't even understand what she was saying, something about money or something. But she's basically giving them her final advice, and it really felt like a cliche type of scene. And then Kit walks in, and she doesn't want to eat anything, and of course it's like, oh. And so she literally just dies out of nowhere. The Dark Angel has been standing there the whole time, and she's basically like, yep, I'm ready now, let's go, bye-bye everyone, thanks for saving me. Not. And so then she dies. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, she was fine a couple of days ago, and now all of a sudden she just chooses to die? Like, what the fuck is up with that? Like, that was so stupid. It was just like, it's just mind-boggling. It is just so weird. She had this breakdown where she changed, and she grew into a different person, where she was finally like a human being again. And she was being a good guardian to these kids that needed a mom. And their moms both died for even stupider reasons that I could talk about. I mean, both of their moms died, like, episode after episode. It's like, oh yay, we don't really have anything left to do, so we're just gonna randomly start killing off characters for no reason. And so I just, that was so stupid. Killing off Sister Jude out of nowhere. It was so dumb. It didn't make any sense. it didn't have any emotion to it because it was just like a giant what the fuck? And it was just so stupid. And then you had Grace and Alma. And you thought that the way that things were playing out, you thought that there was going to be some sort of a storyline with the aliens. There's going to be some sort of like a interesting alien type of story in these final episodes, since there's nothing left to do. Oh no, of course not. Alma kills Grace with an axe, and then Alma goes to the asylum, and she's like, I hate this place. I can't even see how you survived here. And then she dies out of nowhere. I mean, it's so stupid. And the reason why I'm just repeating that is because these stories just end out of nowhere, and there's no sense to it at all. It is just completely nonsensical. And basically, the final story is that they have to take down the asylum, and they have to save Sister Jude. And believe me, I would have saved her the moment I got released. I mean, they waited so long. What a bunch of assholes. Why did they wait so long? Lana Banana. Oh, Lana Banana. Crybaby Banana Girl, you really failed. And let's talk about Lana Banana, because her character is basically one sellout, psychopathic biatch. She is completely insane. She belonged in the asylum. And I do appreciate, I guess, the messaging behind all of this. Because I guess, they're really saying she was the bad guy. They were saying that, she really belonged there because, you see what she does. The way she treats people, and she lies. I mean, in the final episode, we can't even really know if she was telling the truth because she just kept on lying over and over again. I mean, how do we know that anything she said was truthful? And so her character, she escapes from the asylum by herself, or I guess with Kit, and then Kit, oh my god, Kit goes back to get Grace, and then he gets put back in the asylum. That was stupid. That whole storyline was just bizarre. It was just like they just kept on doing these twists and turns just for the sake of it. And but Lana escapes, and then obviously she gets held captive by Bloodyface. She goes through all that, and it's like, wah, wah, wah. But then, as soon as she escapes, what does she do? She knocks him out, and she doesn't even kill him. I mean, what a stupid biatch. She doesn't kill him, and so all this evidence that he has lying around, he destroys it all. And so it's like, she had the chance right there. She could have ended it all. But of course she didn't. And so we have to have the storyline where he comes back, and then they imprison him in the asylum, and then Sister Mary gives him a full-time position, and it is a disaster. And then she gets released by this Mother Superior who just, she's hardly in the show at all, and then she helps her escape, and then she leaves forever. I mean, that was trash too. And then Lana Banana, you think she's going to do this big expose, and she's going to expose the asylum. But the plot wanted her to not do that. And so instead she writes this fictional book where she basically lies about everything. And she says all this BS, and what a terrible person she is, lying about all the stuff that happened. She told Sister Jude she was going to come back for her, and she basically forgets about her. I guess they were trying to make a point, and so I will say that this finale, it was the best finale out of all the 3 finales I've seen so far, because it at least had a point to it. They had a point, and at least they gave closure to these storylines. And so for that, I have to give them applause. But that applause is really small because by the ending, they just completely went into La La Land, into this weird story that just no one ever wanted. The stories at the end were just completely dissatisfying, and they really didn't make sense. They weren't entertaining. They didn't really belong. I mean, it was such a weird ending. It almost feels disconnected to the rest of the season. I mean, Dr. Arden commits suicide, so he's not a part of the finale. And by the finale, it's like, what's there left to do? Oh, this present storyline with Lana Banana, the crybaby, the person who likes to cry all the time, every single episode. And so in the final episode, Crybaby does this big interview, and she lies all the time, and I guess she still doesn't let people see her girlfriend. She lied and pretended like her girlfriend was never her girlfriend. She was a roommate. I mean, she really, wow, what an evil person. And so I actually kind of like that idea of her being the real villain, because obviously I don't like her. And so I was like, okay, that's kind of interesting. But then what happens is just completely, she visits Kit to get some sort of a attention, and she finds out what happened with him and everything, and then we find out that Kit got pancreatic cancer, and then the aliens abducted him out of nowhere. I don't know if that's true or not, because I'm not going to believe a word that biatch says. And then the son of Bloodyface wants to assassinate her and basically confront her. And they have this weird confrontation where, Bloodyface, this whole season, the son of Bloodyface, this whole season, he's been really, like, just a powerhouse of evil, and just killing and killing and killing, and it was like, there is nothing stopping this guy. I mean, he's on a mission. Well, then he gets to the mission's final objective, and he just completely breaks down, and she takes his gun from him and kills him. I mean, what a dissatisfying ending. What a complete trash ending. What a sad ending, too. The very least they could have done was let him kill her, because every single ending in this season was dissatisfying on purpose. I mean, people talked about how, Bloodyface, he got to die while having a martini at home. Dr. Arden got to kill himself. Sister Mary got to, get kissed by the dark fairy. All these characters just got to have these very bizarre endings. And so it was just really strange. It felt so, it was weird. It was just completely weird, and it didn't make sense. It didn't really feel like a good ending. It just felt like this empty, pointless, yet like sad ending. Like, honestly, I would never watch this finale again. I would never watch these final episodes again. I would only watch episodes like 1 through 9. Or like 1 through 8. Like, that's how bad the last couple of episodes are. And so, yeah, it was just really disappointing that once again they ended on such a downer and disappointing note, because I was really loving this season. And I thought, wow, what a shame that I spent all this time watching this, and I got really invested into these characters, minus Lana Banana. And sorry about all the discrimination against Lana Banana. It is not because she's a lesbian, and I want to clear that up right now. Her lesbianism was basically another point to her being evil, because it was something else that she hid. And, she didn't even talk about it in her book. even though it was a key element to her story because, she was raped as a lesbian, she was forced to do conversion therapy, she was discriminated against. I mean, it was so integral to her story. And so it was really just another thing that she kept out of her story. I do like that point that they tried to make with, like, how you can lie and, she lied about everything. She just rewrote history. I would have liked to see her completely rewrite the season. Like, that would have been more interesting to me, is if, like, we got to see this, like, alternate version of history. Like, where she's, like, this hero and, everything happens the way she said it happened and it's all bullshit. Like, it was really weird and kind of sad. Because all these people died and they couldn't speak up about what actually happened. And so she basically got to just say whatever she wanted. I mean, she really was the villain of the season. For all the bad that Dr. Arden did, for all the bad that Sister Jude did, aka Sister Whippin', that's enough. She liked to give people a whipping. And, and for all the bad that they did, they're not as bad as Lana Banana. So now for my rating. Wow, this was an hour long. I'm sorry about that. I did not expect it to be this long. I expected it to be long, but not this long. Lana Banana. Wait a second. Not Lana Banana. The season. This season, I was really having trouble thinking about a rating. Because it had, as I said, it had so many different segments. So many different points where it felt like a completely different show. Like, there was that portion where it felt like a cliche Asylum story. There was a portion where it showed the future story. There was a portion where it showed like a Nazi kind of story. That weird Anne Frank story. Like, there were so many different weird stories. And so I thought, what could I give it? What could I describe? And I thought back about, ice cream. And at one point, Sister Jude calls Grace a scoop. She's a scoop of strawberry ice cream. And it's like, okay. I would say that this season is a variety of ice creams. It's almost like, when you go to the ice cream section and they have those little mini ice cream containers that are like basically the size of like your pinky, and it's basically a chance for you to try the different flavors. It's like a taste test type of thing where you can get that weird flavor. So I would say that this season is like vanilla, chocolate, strawberry, chunky monkey, as representative Sister Jude. She is one chunky monkey ice cream container right there. And Dr. Bloodyface, he could be like strawberry explosion. There are just so many different ice cream flavors. It really didn't feel connected as a whole because the ending, which, what kind of ice cream could be the ending? I'm trying to think of a really unsatisfying ice cream flavor. Something that, you could feel the unsatisfaction of eating that and being like, ugh, what the fuck was that? Okay. Remember when we did the Puppet Master commentary and I got that spicy ice cream and it wasn't spicy at all, and I accidentally ate the entire container because I was drunk and I was not myself? Well, that flavor, that spicy strawberry flavor is the finale. It was not spicy at all. It was weird. It was bizarre. It was not a good flavor. It was just a complete letdown compared to all the other great flavors that I tried, like brownie batter or cookie core, cookies and cream. I would say that Dr. Arden would be mint chocolate chip, my favorite flavor. So, you have all these different flavors, and it's like, okay, are we going somewhere? Are we going somewhere with these flavors? No. We're going to this unsatisfactory final flavor, this gross, spicy flavor that's just, ugh, ugh. And so that's what I would rate this season. It is a variety of ice cream flavors that you try, and it's like, ugh, this just does not fit together at all. But it's too bad because there's all these great flavors that I had along the way, and I wished that at the end it all meant something. And it really didn't. It was a very sad, disappointing ending. It made me feel really depressed. It made me feel really down after watching it, and I don't appreciate that either. I don't like that. Do you like that? Would you like to feel down right now? I don't think you would. So, I would still say that this is the best season out of seasons 1, 2, and 10. But then again, I still have to watch all the other ones too. And I mean, we didn't even talk about Peppa. Remember Peppa? Remember the musical sequence? I mean, there's so many things I could talk about because there were all these great elements that led up to this terribly disappointing final group of episodes. It's really sad. It's really, really sad. It's sort of like a giant heartbreak. And when you have heartbreak, you eat ice cream, you get those pints of ice cream, and you just go, nom, 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 because you're sad. And so maybe I will in fact, I will. I'm going to get some pumpkin ice cream from Ritter's today, and maybe I'll get some other ice cream or something to just try to get over this heartbreak that I'm feeling from this bad season. The bad ending, that is. Terrible. So, if you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up, comment, tell me what you thought of Season 2, because I know that the majority, either say that Season 2 is the best, or it's just, okay. So, I don't know. I'll have to see the other ones first. And then please subscribe to our channel, because I will come back and I will review Seasons 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And of course, we probably will review Season 10, because what a disappointment that was. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon.